Hello, this is the 167th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2224, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. And Simon, welcome back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much.
You have been on a small...
just a brief holiday, like a really short one, like 4 days there. Just got back from Tabasco in Mexico. It was very nice. A lot of tasty food. Probably you're thinking what I was thinking. So anyway, I was surprised when I got there that I learned that rather than the place being named after the sauce, that the sauce is actually named after the chilies. So it's made from chilies, and those chilies are named after the place.
Exactly. That was the first thing I thought. They named the region after the sauce.
And it's a popular sauce, but and so then I also assumed that the place was named after it, but actually the sauce gets its name from the place.
Like camembert.
Exactly, like camembert, champagne, peanut butter, Gouda. They are all places where food is named after. There is a food product from those places that has the name of the place.
Okay.
Tabasco is like that.
Tabasco, the same thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to find out that every food thing had its name in a place, probably.
Maybe those places don't exist anymore.
True, yeah. Lost to history.
Yeah.
But we still have their food products.
Yeah.
Okay. Or we're going to stumble over potato at some point. Find out it's a region in Brazil or something. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. That's a nice... So even in the 23rd century, we learn new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Even at our mature ages. Yeah.
Exactly. We have Wikipedia that has all the information ever, but we don't read it.
I don't tend to read it daily, no.
Okay, cool. But, it kind of ties into the topic of today, because today we're talking about boss of the place.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And can you give an explanation of that for us?
Yes. It's a pretty cool concept, and it kind of originates in the fact that there are cams everywhere, so cameras that record every single place on Earth, and with our connected technology, you always know where everybody is, and there's a website that automatically tracks where everybody is at the moment, which also means that you always know where everybody has been. Mm-hmm. Yep. And
since, not back to prehistoric times, but at least since the establishment of the CAM network.
Yeah, exactly. And this meant that at one point this became a bit of a game. Well, if you had been the last person to have been somewhere, you were named boss of the place. So for that particular square meter, if you were the last person to have been there, you are boss of the place.
Correct.
Which means in a pedestrian street, you pass a spot, you're boss of the place for a couple of seconds, and then the next person gets it.
The person behind you becomes the boss of that place.
But if you basically walk out into the fields, you could be boss of the place for hours.
Yeah, fields, maybe even months or years.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends how often other people go there.
And that was it wasn't intentional, but then this became really a bit of a game in your spare time, a bit of a spare time activity to become boss of the place of a place. Mm-hmm. And we thought that was an interesting concept to talk about.
Yeah.
A few requirements.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be, it's only outside.
Mm-hmm. Right, not inside buildings, not underground, like in caves or things like that.
Exactly. Outside, in the open. And you need to have touched it...
Physically,
exactly.
Not be floating over on a hoverboard or even flying higher up in a hover car. Walking, touching the ground, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So not 5 centimeters. Mm-hmm. No, you really have to have touched it.
And that's actually the point, because some people, if you're sprinting or running, you need to make sure that your stride means that your foot lands at least within the square meter. You don't have to. Mm-hmm. It's actually an interesting thing where you can get a checkerboard pattern.
True, actually.
Depending how you run, if you really... do it in a grid, you can make a checkerboard pattern. And then if you really are fancy, do it with a friend or someone else, and they can also do the other squares, the alternating squares.
I like actually looking at the website, because you can zoom in really until the square meter. Mm-hmm. And then you see, if you zoom in on a big city, you see kind of like a blinking pattern. Mm-hmm. There's constantly colors changing, especially in the busy streets where a lot of people are. It's constantly blinking. But if you are looking at, the fields, then often the fields are just a few colors because somebody or a group or whatever just has.
Some people make really nice
Yeah.
pieces of artwork. I was going to say sculptures, but they're not really sculptures. But exactly, they'll coordinate their walking to make patterns, and then, colours are kind of randomly assigned, so they can't necessarily rely on colours, but they can at least rely on them being different from the surrounding ones.
Yeah. And then if you look at the live map, because it's a live map, you can see, like, move away from the blinking cities, but go into the field, and you can really see kind of like tracks being drawn where there's actually people walking. You can see, square meter by square meter suddenly turning orange or whatever.
Yeah. And I mentioned pieces of artwork. It's really fun when people, some group of people, or maybe even one really dedicated person by themselves, they'll make a portrait, and then it looks really nice. And then a few weeks later, you'll check it again, and someone's come along and drawn some glasses and like a mustache, and maybe a big cigar coming out the person's mouth, that kind of thing.
Exactly. They really, but also sometimes people weren't really. I mean, to be honest,
that's intentional.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the minority. I'm getting a bit carried away. That's the minority of cases. More often, it's more accidental. Yeah, it just happens to be that's where people are going.
And it's also it has a pretty, let's say, active community that really keeping track on things, and then it's also a fun thing to do in your spare time, to not just actually make sure you're boss of the place somewhere, but to actually zoom in and just see what's going on. And then you see, okay, there's this small community that are really trying to also influence the map and the colors. And there's just, most of the people are just out there and taking a walk, or
in the forest, going for a hike somewhere.
Exactly, or just going from A to B and then accidentally, drawing a line straight to somebody's artwork. Okay, they didn't really know it. Like 2 days ago, there was somebody really making.
Sure, and those really big, complicated pieces of artwork, they do tend to do them in more remote places for that reason. Especially like the Arctic or the Antarctic. Those are prime locations for that kind of thing.
True, yeah. And then that's also challenging to be boss of the place there. What I find interesting is there are some let's say peculiar spin-offs where people, because the criteria is you have to have touched it, but you can wear shoes.
Sure, yeah. But mostly, maybe a hot day on the beach you wouldn't, but most other places you'd wear shoes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the city maybe not, but yeah, especially if it's cold or hot, whatever, it doesn't really make sense. But there's like a spin-off group, at least the one that I know.
People who take it extra seriously.
And they want to have touch with skin.
Yeah. And so then, the easiest way would be to be barefoot, but some places it's not a good idea. The ground is either too sharp or too hot, maybe, if it's like near a volcano. And so then they'll use their cyborg chips. And there's different ways that you can go. Like some, you can just get yourself some custom leather shoes made from your own skin, like not torn off you or anything grim like that, but like grown from your own skin, and actually grown around your feet by your cyborg chip. So because it needs to be living, at least for the folk here who are taking it super seriously, they don't want it to be like, that's even grimmer, maybe leather shoes made of your dead clone skin. They want it to be your own living feet, but in the form, so they don't care that it's shoes. It's more a practical thing, like I say, if you want to be doing this and it's somewhere dangerous to walk in bare feet, okay, what are the ways you get around that? One is to grow your own custom leather shoes around your feet using your cyborg chip. Another way you go a bit more far is to become like a fawn, maybe. You have the legs of a deer. So with hooves, hooves are a bit better at withstanding rougher ground. Stuff like that.
Initially, people were also using horses, but then the horse was getting
the horse was getting the credit, not the rider.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's quite a few pretty weird spin-offs like that, which then rule out most of the population.
Sure.
Including the robots, for example.
Right. The robots, exactly. They can't take part in that.
Yeah, but in the normal place. Yeah, that's for sure. And the sentient animals, and I'm not sure if the aliens are actually in the system.
Don't know.
Huh. Good point.
Like you don't really see on the website, which keeps track of all this, it's anonymized. Yeah. So you don't actually see the names or the faces of the people doing it. So in that sense, it's not possible to tell. You'd need to basically ask friends, or colleagues of yours, maybe at UFOPU. You could ask them if they take part.
That's a good point. You see yourself and you can, befriend others, but I don't have any alien friends on there.
Okay.
Okay. I would check. But that's the fun thing. Like you mentioned the remote areas before, like the Antarctica. So you can be Bob for a very long time.
Yeah. Some places where people basically never go. You can be the Bob of that place for years, decades even.
And then and that's people. There are professional boppers, I think, that are really just building up square meters bit by bit, and then they're bob in a lot of places, especially remote places. And there's a bit of there's like a global ranking, right? So if you're in the global top 10, then that's
pretty
cool.
Area,
you're pretty famous.
So top 10 meaning you've got the top 10 people who have the largest areas.
Yeah, exactly. And this can be also, there's the global top 10 of everybody everywhere. But then you have all kinds of sub-rankings, per continent or per group of people or age-based and whatever, to make it really fun for a lot of people, because in the global top 10, that's just...
like the under 5s, the under 10s as well for kids.
Exactly. That's pretty cool. And what I like, what they did in addition, is that you can be the overall Bob, because you were somewhere the last.
The most recent person who was there.
Yeah, but if you are the Bob at the end of the year, so when the year changes, you basically...
So like the 31st of December,
yeah,
when it flips over to the 1st of January.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can be the Bob for that year permanently.
That just passed.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of, let's say, 2219, if you were in a particular square meter the Bob at this point...
When it flipped over to 2220, then you were the Bob 2219 of that place.
And even if on January 1st somebody else got there and you have never been there since, you're no longer the Bob of the place, or the boss of the place, but you're forever the Bob 19 because you were it 1 year changed. So that's pretty cool. Makes it fun for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Have you been a Bob?
A Bob? Yes. And actually, so Milton Keynes. It's this desolate wasteland in England.
Heard of this?
Yeah, and I have been the Bob of there, and actually, also still the Bob of there.
Oh, really?
Cool. No one's been there since I was last there 23 years ago.
Okay.
It's a proper wasteland.
Let me. I'm now putting it up on my lens to check.
Yeah.
Are you the vermilion? A lot of the color is vermilion there.
Yeah, that would be me.
That's pretty large.
Yeah, went there for basically just to walk around. I'd heard about it like much longer ago and never actually been there. And I figured, okay, I'll go check that out. I'd heard they have cows made of concrete.
Whoa.
Didn't spot any, unfortunately. It being a wasteland is probably why. I guess they all died long ago. But I wanted to look around anyway. And
wow. So no
one's been there since I was last there.
So 23 years ago, you said?
Yeah, 2201 is when I was last there.
Wow. Okay. So, and because this is a lot, you've been doing a lot of trekking then. Is it 1 day? No.
No. This was over a few weeks in the summer.
Okay. Wow. So there's a few lines straight through it, but other than that, most of it is vermilion. Okay. Pretty cool.
Yeah. But so that was. Obviously I've been other places, but that's the one that really sticks in my mind because at first I didn't think much of it, but a few years later I checked, I was like, oh, no one's been there. And now every so often, especially for our episode today, I looked it up. Yep, no one's been there since.
And I know there's quite a few areas that don't have a Bob at all. Nobody has ever been there because they're really hard to get to.
Exactly, and there's no local because you can imagine with teleporters, hey, where's hard to get to? But there are still some places which don't have teleporters nearby that if you wanted to become the Bob of that place, you would need to really trek for a long distance.
Yeah, climb up a waterfall or slide down a mountain peak or something like that. And especially because you can't hover there, it's still...
you could hover to get there, I guess, but you'd have to jump down and then...
And then especially if it's really steep and so on.
Yeah, it's too dangerous.
Okay. Occasionally, it almost... makes the news, right?
Some attempts, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Or if a pretty remote area finally has a Bob now, and once you got there, there's a pretty big chance you're going to be the Bob for a pretty long time.
Although some, for the most part, but when it's on the news, then a whole bunch of people go, "Hey, how about I get that?"
Yeah, exactly. And then the day after, it's already taken by somebody else.
Yeah. Also, for the ones who are really opportunistic, and other people are a bit more calm about it. They note it down and go there the next year maybe when no one else remembers it.
True. And then at least the person And a lot of these attempts are also done mostly near the end of the year. So like if somebody then quickly beats them to it, at least they have that year secured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then you've been Bob for the year 2 and the year 3 and the year 4 and so on for a lot of stretches in Milton Keynes, right?
I guess so, yeah. I didn't really think of it that way. Like obviously for the first one, Bob 2201. But I'm doing the thing now where I say the 22 part first.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be clear for our listeners, because they're thinking, hey, for example, if I just said Bob 01, they're thinking for themselves, hey, that was just 23 years ago for us.
Yeah.
No, it's in their future.
Yeah.
But right, I got Bob 2201. I didn't really consider it, but you're right, because no one else has been there since. Each subsequent year I was getting the title. I say getting the title, it's not like someone came and awarded it to me on a plaque or anything.
Get confetti or whatever.
No. So that's why I wasn't aware of it. If there had been that kind of celebration, I would be aware.
And the thing is, for me, because you need to have touched the ground, there's quite a few remote areas that have been, but mostly hovering over them.
Yeah, passing over, but not actually settling down on the ground.
Yeah.
But then, right, for yourself, because I went on a whole long thing there with Milton Keynes, have you been the Bop of anywhere? Notable, I mean.
Yeah, for a longer amount of time. There was a little area in Malawi. As I was basically doing my morning run there. So I teleported there and went for a run, and then I noticed my shoelaces being untied. So I got off the road into the field next to it to tie my shoes.
So and there's get in the way of other runners.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe we're talking about 20 square meters maybe in total. I mean,
or you really like spread out to tie up your shoelaces?
No, I walked for a bit, so it was like a straight line.
Yeah.
And this I've held for a pretty long time. So I got to be the Bob for, I can't remember the year.
Yeah.
I think 2 years maybe until somebody covered it.
Yeah.
That was coincidence.
Mm-hmm. You're right, not intentional.
Yeah. And I had it once where my hoverboard crashed.
Ooh.
Not crashed, but it...
powered down?
Powered down, exactly. And then I was in Greece, and then I had to walk for quite a bit. And that was relatively remote.
Sure.
So basically until the nearest teleporter, and then at the area around the teleporter that quickly got covered by other people because they had a teleporter there. But the particular, let's say, place where I landed, until I got too near the teleporter, the same thing for a couple of years. I think I was Bob of those places. But that's about it, and not something I pursued in particular. Though I really like to follow what's going on.
Sure.
It's
the kind of thing it's easy enough to follow from your lens.
Yeah.
While relaxing on a hoverboard somewhere, so you don't really it's fun to look at, but you yourself don't need to take part.
And moreover, even I checked earlier.
Right, if you still have any current Bops.
Yeah, and
you are the Bop of anywhere.
And I, at the moment, don't hold any.
Now so that's impressive.
Exactly. Not like. I'm always in the low digits.
So you tend to go places where lots of other people also go, so they're like covering your tracks.
I do like to go to remote places, but I always
but other people. Of course, right. Specifically, not just go to places, but walk around in places is the point.
Exactly, and even if I get somewhere, I usually stay hovering there until it's a busy spot, and then I lose the Bob pretty soon anyway. So, not even the bits that I walked this morning. Right. So those have already been taken by somebody else. At the moment, I hold 0.
I guess, is that some folk like to clean things very thoroughly? Mm-hmm. So is there a satisfaction to you that right now you've got literally no trace, like that you're not the Bob of anywhere?
That's a good point, actually.
Like now that you've got it, you got it by accident, like it wasn't intentionally, but now that you've got it, do you want to maintain it?
Ooh, I haven't thought of it like that. I've done it once. This was in the Skyline Park, where we were just bored while we were having a picnic, and I was making really straight squares in the park while basically watching my own color on my lens, so I could see live how I was coloring in squares in the park. And I did enjoy that, really straight squares.
Okay, it's also another kind of satisfaction, not from clearing it completely, but rather making a very specific shape.
Yeah, and getting annoyed because people kept running through it, playing football and stuff like that. Maybe. Oh, that's going to be tricky though, maintaining the zero.
I mean, the easiest thing is you hover everywhere or teleport everywhere.
True,
Okay,
yeah.
that's like cheating. But since you do like go for morning runs and you do walk some places, maybe you'll find out how tricky it is. So assuming you want to or pay attention to it, you'll find out how tricky it is.
Yeah, I think that's going to be tricky. Yeah. I was actually thinking the other way around. Maybe
to get the greatest coverage.
Yeah, or at least set some sort of challenging goal. I
can recommend Milton Keynes. If you could go there and walk over all the places I've walked, you probably have that for at least another 23 years.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm going to now secure me a spot, and the first spot I'm going to secure is the only one you're holding at the moment. That would be rude. There must be many more places like that, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking about it. Are you thinking about maybe filling in more, or like rounding it up? Like if you now have
like go back to
9,274 and then kind of like filling it up to 10,000 again or whatever.
So not the number is interesting to me, but right, I could go, because I did it kind of accidentally 23 years ago. I could go back to Milton Keynes and, like you mentioned, there's a few spots where someone's just like crossed through maybe. Some spots I didn't go to, like some empty patches. Yeah. I could go completely colour it in, completely fill it in. I'm not actually wanting to.
Yes, okay.
It's fine.
You start to feel a bit silly, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I would have that, not with being the bop of a place, but just in other maybe aspects of life, I would be a bit completionist. Like I'd want to somehow catch them all. But at least in this case, so that was when I was much younger. By now, happily, I trained myself out of that.
Okay.
I don't intend to get back into it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, yourself?
I mean, I like to play with the idea, but I know from myself, if I am actually committing to it, I am gonna take it seriously, and that's gonna take me a whole lot of time. Sure. I'm thinking maybe at the end of my lifetime.
Oh, that would be nice.
Like in my last year, try to cover as much as possible. And if I'm no longer there, that people still have, that's gonna be super sad once my last square meter disappears. I mean, accidentally.
Potentially.
Years after.
I mean, not sad for you because you're gone. Who would it be sad for? Or you just mean like in the abstract?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess it could be like, sure, for your descendants, if they keep track of it and they're like, oh, that was the last place that Dirk was, the Popov. Maybe, but maybe they circle it, like they put guards up, like sentry guns and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like not shooting, but sentry guns that squirt people with water to squirt them away.
Put a fence around it.
All that.
I think maybe, what could be fun is trying to get a bob for a certain year, and then maybe like in a category, in an age category in my particular region for that particular year. Yeah. So that could actually be fun. Just, for New Year's Eve, for a change, not go to a party, but really go to some really remote location by myself, not somebody walking behind me.
Yeah. And you don't have to be there for long, so.
True.
You can still go to a party, teleport. Okay, it's remote, so maybe you
but I mean, of course,
skip out of the party for like an hour, go do the thing.
Yeah, but you're going to skip the actual reason for the party. Like yay, happy 22, 25, sure, and right at that moment, you're going to be sitting by yourself in a meadow.
Sure. I mean, when I was longer ago in the past, when I still had young kids, especially when they were babies, I would fall asleep sometimes with them. And like fall asleep at 9:30 in the evening, and then wake up again until 2 a.m. Okay, then I skipped, like you're saying, the main event.
And then if you had done that somewhere in a remote location, see, maybe I'm not considering this for next New Year's Eve. I've had quite a few of them. I could skip the toasting and the celebrating for a few minutes, and then go and then still toast like retroactively. Yeah, thinking about it. Okay. Cool. King of the Place.
King of the Place, that was the old title. Boss of the Place.
Yes.
Good you bring it up. It used to be called King of the Place.
True.
And then 50 years ago or more, they were like, hey, this is not really first of all, it's not a man or a woman thing, it's just that you're the boss of the place. Hey, let's call it Boss of the Place.
And also royalty is a bit of a...
That too.
Yeah. But I thought I had that out of my system by now.
But we are old. We are old. So, exactly when you were growing up, when I was growing up, it was still called King of the Place.
And also, they had the little crown for a while. Anyway,
kept
like
that, yeah.
after they had changed it to boss.
Yeah, I think that was because like they Burger Boss used to be called Burger King, and they still have the crown as part of their logo.
True, actually,
so I think for some folk, crowns mean bosses, but actually crowns are from royalty stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
we have a listener question.
Yeah, and we're going to mix it up a little bit. Often I read them. How about you read out the question?
Yes. So it was from Janine, and Janine asked us, hello, this is Janine from the 21st century. A big deal for us at the moment is trying to be carbon neutral. Are you carbon neutral? Thanks, Janine.
So thanks for writing to us, Janine, and yes, we are.
Yes.
Have been for quite a while now, and actually carbon negative.
Yes, we're carbon negative.
Exactly, carbon neutral, that's maintaining the status quo. And actually, right, I mean, you're writing from the 21st century, Janine, and there needed to be quite some time there where not us personally, yeah, where the Earth needed to run at quite a lot carbon negative to take a lot of the stuff out of the atmosphere that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And now we're running still carbon negative, but now it's like 98%. So
yeah. But
it's just a little bit taking out still.
It's basically all the carbon stuff that you're pumping into the atmosphere in the 21st century, we're carbon negative, so we're cleaning up your trash.
Yeah, still that little bit. Like most of it was cleaned up in the 22nd century, but still a little bit to go.
Exactly. At one point, I wonder if we've taken so much out of it, we need to start putting it back in. Maybe there's
potentially.
Okay, never heard of this though.
Not yet.
Okay, we'll find out if that's a problem. Okay, so thanks for emailing us, Janine.
Yeah, and if anyone else would like to write to us, please do so by sending an email to michaellasagna5@gmail.com, and in the subject line put the number 167 so that we know this episode went back successfully in time.
Yes. Thanks for listening, and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.